gonna start finally planting in my garden. And what I wanted to talk to y'all about was, number one, I have my garden plan, which I did a video on this. It's how to plan your garden, drawing it out by, so that you have it organized. So you might want to refer to that video. And in these tubs, I'm planting cucumbers and some green beans. So we're going to get started with that today. Now, I'm going to put this back because I know what's in my thing. This is also in that video about organizing seeds. I talk about having a garden journal. This is my garden journal. It kind of helps me keep things straight. Also, I put in here techniques of growing, like how when I was first learning how to garden, I would watch videos and then I would write down some pointers, step-by-step things about how to plant things and when to plant things, so that I wouldn't have to keep going back to the videos and stuff that I'd been watching off of YouTube. So I have some of those type things in my garden journal. I have fertilizer recipes, recipes for how to treat bug infestation naturally. All those types of things, I have it written down in my journal. So that's kind of like my go-to things. How to grow sweet potato slips when I was first learning how to do sweet potato slips. Learning about potatoes, how to grow a potato, just all sorts of things. Onions, onion sets, what varieties are good in my area. So those are all some things. How to ferment seeds for tomatoes, cucumbers, eggplant, cantaloupe seeds. So all those type of things I've kind of gotten in my little journal book. One thing though that I learned about, I guess it was last year, it's called the square foot gardening method. And I've talked about it before. I have a limited space here. Some people, this might be a big garden. Some people, this might be a small garden. But kind of in the South and East Texas where I'm from, this is considered a little garden. People have gardens that are acres, they're huge. So I have to be really conservative of my space the more and more things that I'm growing. When I first started gardening, I just planted tomatoes, peppers, and some squash maybe, and I didn't have to have a very big garden for that. But as I've added more and more things each year for me to try to grow, I have to be a little, mindful of how much space I have and what I can plant. So I stumbled upon this method. My gardening is kind of a hybrid of a lot of different things. Because I plant in tubs, which would be considered a raised bed, and then I also have everything pretty much is raised bed gardening. I use kind of a method, a mixed up hugelkultur method of gardening in my tubs. Excuse me. If you're unfamiliar about what hugelkultur is, usually hugelkultur is you would dig a trench in your yard, in the ground. You would put wood, logs, sticks, then you would, cover that with leaves and mulch and all that kind of stuff, and it would make a big mound, and you would grow in the top of that mound. And those leaves and wood and stuff, as they decay, also provide a rich nutrient base for the hugelkultur, and also it helps to retain moisture. And then also a combination of the Garden of Eden method, which the Garden of Eden method is that you apply mulch. Well, actually you apply a huge amount of manure and compost, then mulch over that, and then as that breaks down, you can grow in that medium. A lot of people don't believe in the Garden of Eden method because of the wood. They think that the wood robs the nitrogen. They also think that in the hugelkultur method too, that decaying wood robs your of your nitrogen. But what their part that they're missing is that both of those steps require that you put lots of manure down, lots and lots of fresh manure to overcompensate that nitrogen pull. So that's kind of what I did when I first, and I didn't know any of these methods, and I know people think I'm I'm lying when I say that, but I didn't know any of those methods when I started doing this. I just did it off of instinct and trying to be frugal. My instinct was I had these tubs, I had a lot of them, I had to fill them up, and I needed to do that as cheaply as possible. So what I did, lots of people talked about putting plastic bottles and cans and all that kind of stuff in the bottom, little packing peanuts, all that kind of stuff in the bottom of my tubs. I just didn't want that foreign material in my tubs that I was going to have to deal with later. So for me, I just didn't want any of that, and so I chose to put pine cones and sticks. We had a load of mulch brought in. I put mulch. So I filled up these tubs about halfway, and then I put a huge layer of manure in there, and so a little bit of mixed in with a little bit of topsoil, and then I put wood chips over them. And I kind of got all my tubs ready kind of like in the fall. So they had all of fall to kind of sit there and to mellow out. Now, so then the next spring I planted in them. When springtime came, excuse me, I got something on my face. When springtime came, I added more. When I would dig my hole, I would add more manure in there. Not fresh manure, composted manure in there. And then little by little, every year, so after years of that, my mulch has decomposed. The mulch that I had on top decomposed, that hardwood mulch. But every year I take my compost, if y'all seen my compost pile, I take that and I top off my tubs, because it never fails. The more and more as this decays, and then when you pull plants out, you have that root ball, you can't get all the dirt off of it, you're going to lose a little bit of soil. And as you're putting composted material back on there, the more it composts, the more it also, the volume, you have volume loss. So every year I top off my tubs, but because of that, I have cultivated this soil over the years, and it's really good soil now. So that's kind of my method. So that's how I came to these tubs. Now, the square foot gardening method. When I learned about this method, I was trying to use my tubs almost how like you would garden in a row. When I planted green beans or peas, I would just do a row of green beans down through there. Well, I had all this space I was wasting. Now, so the square foot gardening method takes that in a square foot, how much you can grow productively in a square foot. So I thought, oh, this is more than a square foot, but I use it like a foot. So pretty much, so I have a grid in here of the things that I grow. Let me find it here. So how many plants you could plant in a square foot. So like broccoli, they've got one broccoli plant to 1 square foot. Lettuce, four lettuce plants to 1 square foot. Cabbage, 1. Peppers, 1. Swiss chard, like 4. Bush beans, you could do 9. So you would make like a little template of 9 and put in here. Carrots would be like 16. Radishes, 16. Onions, 16. It just goes on and on. So that's what I'm going to do today, is work on kind of planting. And like I say, that's my gardening method, is kind of a hybrid of all those things. So that's something I want you to think about, is, only person that knows about your garden is you. Try these methods, incorporate these methods, and come up with a gardening method that works for you. And this definitely has been a trial and error type thing, and more my knowledge increased, the more my garden has improved. So just wanted to encourage y'all with that, is learn, and then apply. So we put this garden book down, my little bit. Something else that's in this book is also like in my orchard, I have the names of where I plant things. Yes, there's a tag on there, but say the tag got pulled off, you wouldn't know what variety you had planted in your orchard. So I have my map of my orchard in here too, so that kind of helps you. Now, I don't have my trellis up over here for my cucumbers yet, but we are going to put a trellis up. My trellis for my cucumbers is actually on another section of my garden, so we're going to have to pull that up. My husband's not too happy about that, but you know, you got to rotate things every once in a while. He thinks I should just be able to grow everything in the same spot every year, but you can't, so. That is a rock. I didn't know I never have rocks. It might be from my little grandson playing. All right, so cucumbers. Let me take this glove off. All right, so I'm planting some straight 8s. These are some seeds I had from last year. So I want to get these used up. So that's why I'm planting them. And I'm planting these like 2 rows right here. And you know how they say like that you plant the kind of the depth of your seed. And I'm just using handy little garden tool, chopsticks. And it's as easy as that. And I just go down here and plant my garden. So I hope this gave y'all some instruction and some explanation of kind of the garden method that I use. And I hope y'all are able to apply this to your gardening and you have a great garden this year. So let me get back to finish up this planting. I got lots to do today. Bye-bye.